Hi everyone, it's 1 o'clock my time. Hopefully, I have a few people who are watching live. We're going to talk about insulin resistance today and how insulin resistance is the reason that you have extra belly fat and why that belly fat is so stubborn. A lot of people will tell you, and this includes your doctor, this includes the diet industry, that the reason why you can't lose your belly fat is because you're not eating little enough, and also that you're not exercising enough. But the reality is that you can be eating really, really healthy food and you can still have insulin resistance. And I'm going to show you some examples of a couple of my clients during this training, who worked out a lot, who were eating really healthy food, but who still couldn't lose their belly fat. And they had to deal with insulin resistance first so that they could lose it. So if you have questions during the presentation, please, I have my comments open on the side. So if I'm looking to the side, that's what I'm doing. I'm just looking to see if there are comments. So please, if you're watching now, you could just put a 1 in the comments or just say hi so that I know you're there. Hi, Robert. And yeah, if you have questions during it, I'll check periodically. So please ask questions. But I think if you really, really want to understand insulin resistance and you have a lot of sort of burning questions, or I finished this presentation and by the end of it, you're more confused than when you started, please, feel free to message me in Messenger, or feel free to book a free Zoom call with me. I'm happy to explain it to you a little bit better, or answer the questions that you have so that you understand it. Because when you understand the correlation between insulin resistance and belly fat, it really will help you to make better decisions and to understand what you need to actually do to get rid of the belly fat. So I'm going to share my screen and get started. Hi, Troy. How are you? Okay, let's go here. Yeah. Okay, so what no one tells you about insulin resistance and belly fat. If you're watching this training and you want to know before you settle in and spend 20 minutes listening to me carry on about nutrition, this is for you if you're a man over 40 and you're struggling with stubborn weight. Okay, this is definitely something that you should watch. The problem really isn't your effort, it's insulin resistance. And the myth that circulates among pretty much everybody, the diet industry, even the medical establishment, is the reason that you can't lose weight is because your calories aren't low enough and or you're not exercising hard enough. So you've probably heard it a million times, you need to eat less and you need to exercise more. That's the myth. And the reality is that most weight loss advice focuses on calories and exercise. But I'm here to tell you that the real culprit behind stubborn belly fat is insulin resistance. So, if insulin resistance is really the root cause of belly fat, and it can be caused by all kinds of things. Hi, James. Thanks for coming. So insulin resistance is the reason your belly fat won't budge. It's the reason why you gain weight quickly. It's the reason why you might lose a few pounds and then gain it back quickly. It's because of insulin resistance. And you're going to learn throughout this training that you can reverse insulin resistance. You can fix it. It'll take between 6 to 12 weeks. You can do it. You have to be diligent between those 6 to 12 weeks, but it is possible. So when I'm doing these trainings, really, and when I'm working with my clients, and just when I'm giving you guys this free information in the group, my goal is really to transform the way you look at losing weight and being healthy. And I understand that it goes against the grain and the norm, but if you really listen and you really absorb the things that I tell you, it's going to show you how to finally get sustainable weight loss for life. And you don't have to count calories, and you don't have to go to the gym 7 days a week or at all. And you don't have to do it without feeling hungry. I just started working with somebody a couple weeks ago in the UK, and I met with him yesterday, and he was like, oh, I was sure I wasn't going to lose weight. I ate so much food this week. And he had lost 3 pounds. It's not about eating less. It's not about counting calories, okay? It's about just learning to eat the right way so that you can reverse insulin resistance. So if you don't know me quickly, I won't bore you to death, but my name is Trina Rise. I'm a holistic nutritionist. This is my husband, Evan. I have 3 kids, 1 daughter and 2 sons. I live in Canada. I started holistic nutrition in 2014, so I've been doing it for a long time. But really, the reason why I work with men over 40 is this guy. He's my friend David, and one of my closest friends. And I helped him take control of his weight and his health about 5 or 6 years ago. And he really pushed me to work with men over 40, just because, you guys, you need help. Really, you need help, and you need the right kind of help. You need the knowledge to do it right, so that you're not yo-yo dieting for the rest of your lives. Okay. So when it comes to insulin resistance, if you have belly fat, like if you're carrying around extra weight, you have some level of insulin resistance. And if you don't fix the insulin resistance, sustainable weight loss is really, really hard. So you have to fix the insulin resistance. And what you have to understand is, some people think insulin resistance and they think, well, I'm not diabetic, I don't have type 2 diabetes, because insulin resistance is really an integral part of diabetes. But you can have insulin resistance. It'll start 10 years before it'll show up on a blood test. So if you're carrying that extra weight, please take this seriously. You do have some level of insulin resistance, 100% if you're carrying extra weight. Okay, so the 4 things that are keeping your weight stuck, if you're a man over 40, are muscle mass, hormones, metabolism, and inflammation. And, insulin resistance really has to do with your hormones. Insulin is your fat storage hormone. Okay, so we're going to talk about these 3 things. What insulin does and why it's making fat loss impossible. Number 2, the biggest mistake men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s make that keeps them stuck. And number 3, how to eat to lower insulin and finally unlock fat burning mode. Because when you start fixing insulin resistance, when it starts to get resolved, your weight loss will become, relatively effortless. Okay, so topic number 1, what is insulin? Oh, what do I have up here? Oh, what insulin does, what is insulin resistance, and why is it making it almost impossible to lose fat? Okay. So as I just said, insulin is your fat storage hormone. Every single time you eat, your blood sugar goes up and insulin is released, and it helps move that blood sugar from your blood into your cells for energy. Okay. So when insulin levels are too high for too long, your body gets stuck in fat storage mode. And you develop insulin resistance. And this can happen if you're eating healthy food. Like I said, you don't need to learn how to diet. You don't need to learn how to eat less, but you really need to learn how to eat right, so that you can get your body out of fat storage mode, so you can help fixing your insulin resistance. And insulin resistance happens when your cells stop responding properly to insulin. So insulin really is the key that unlocks your cell to let the sugar in. Okay. And like I said, if any of this seems complicated, or you want me to explain, or you have questions, put them in the comments. Please just message me or book a call with me. I will explain it to you in more detail. I don't mind. I love carrying on about nutrition. So anyway, please don't hesitate. But really, insulin is this key, and it unlocks your cell to let the sugar in, right? And if your sugar levels are too high constantly, and too much insulin is being pumped into your bloodstream, eventually that key stops working. It just doesn't work anymore. Okay. And then the blood sugar cannot get into your cell, and the insulin is going to take that blood sugar and it's going to store it as fat. This is the reason why you gain weight. Like every time you jump on that scale and you're 2 pounds, 3 pounds, or 4 pounds heavier, this is what happened. Your blood sugar was too high. Your cell either didn't need the energy, you didn't need the sugar, or the insulin, the key, didn't work. Okay. And another way, so instead of your cells using the food you eat for energy, it gets stored as fat. That's why you gain weight. Okay. That is why you have stubborn fat. So this is, an analogy I like to use because it's pretty accurate. You can think about your cells as my husband and me as insulin. I talk about nutrition like way too much. And as you can only imagine, my husband's he's just getting sick of hearing it, right? He's just stopped listening to me. So it's the same thing with your cells. Your cells are sick and tired of all the insulin that keeps being pumped into your bloodstream, and they've really stopped listening. They've stopped reacting to it. But your body needs to do something with that blood sugar, and it has to get it out of your bloodstream. So if it can't be used for energy, it gets stored as fat. And it's as plain and simple as that. So you might be asking yourself the question, do I have insulin resistance? If you have an inability to lose belly fat, if you have any of these things, put a 1 in the comment. If you have the inability to lose belly fat, so everything you do just not working. If you have low energy, if you're tired after meals, this is a big one. If you have a heavy carb meal, or even if you're tired after any meal you have, that's a really huge red flag that you have significant insulin resistance. If you're getting cravings for carbs, if you've got poor sleep, if you have aches and pains, high cholesterol and triglycerides can be a sign of insulin resistance. Sexual health issues like ED or low libido, and even blood pressure, those are all signs that you have insulin resistance. Okay, so if you're watching the replay or you're live, you can put a 1 in the comment if you're dealing with any of those things. Topic number 2 is the biggest mistakes that worsen insulin resistance. Okay, fat loss, you need to understand, is not just about calories, eating healthy, and exercise. It's about learning how to eat right and getting rid of the root cause of your weight. You need to get rid of insulin resistance. There are reasons why insulin resistance might be tricky to get rid of, but you really have to learn how to eat right to deal with that. So let me just ask you, have you ever been on a diet that made you hungry, tired, and cranky? And I'm sure, you can put a 1 in the comments if you have been. I'm sure you have. I've done it in the past. I don't do it anymore. But you're on this diet, this very restrictive diet. Maybe it's low calorie. Maybe it's no carbs, and you end up getting hungry, tired, and cranky. And the reason is because the diet will have ignored how food affects insulin. And the most important thing when you are trying to lose weight and lose it for good is having an eating plan that deals with your insulin levels. It has to keep your insulin level low. It has to keep your blood sugar balanced. Okay, so the biggest mistakes that make insulin resistant worse are cutting calories too much. It's not helpful. Okay, exercising too much can also, obviously exercise is good for insulin resistance. It helps, but if you're exercising too much, it can also have the opposite effect. Sticking to a low calorie diet that's high in carbs doesn't work. So you need to understand not all calories are created equal. They just aren't. You can have a low calorie breakfast, and that might be a bagel with a bit of cream cheese, but that is going to make your insulin resistance worse. So essentially you could eat 3 times as many calories, and that would be better for your insulin resistance or your insulin levels if it's the right foods. Okay, so if you're eating healthy food the wrong way, that can make insulin resistance worse. And I'm going to talk about a client in a minute who was doing that. Not getting enough sleep is one of the key things that messes up your insulin resistance. So even if you're just having a few nights of crappy sleep, even one night of not good, solid, awesome sleep is going to increase insulin resistance by 25%, guys. So if you're not getting good sleep, if you're not making sleep a priority, that is probably making your insulin resistance worse. It's also making it more difficult for you to lose weight. Same thing with stress. Okay, stress increases insulin resistance. Skipping protein and healthy fats is a big no-no, and not learning how to eat right is one of the biggest mistakes that I see with the guys that I talk to. That just makes insulin resistance worse, but makes it almost impossible to fix that insulin resistance and get lasting results. So I want to talk quickly about Jason. You guys might have heard about him. I've done an interview with him before and talked about him before, but he's a really good example of how you can be doing absolutely everything right and it won't fix insulin resistance. So he's 52, goes to the gym every single day, goes surfing on the weekend. He has an active job. he was eating clean when we started working together, and his belly fat wouldn't budge. So he had 20, 25 pounds of belly fat, and it would not budge. Okay. And the reason for that is that he wasn't eating in a way that allowed the insulin resistance to get resolved. So we worked together for 6 months inside my program, and I taught him how to reverse his insulin resistance, which he did. Then he lost the weight. He was able to build more muscle. He needed to learn what optimal nutrition was for his body and his lifestyle. So what you need to understand is what I do with one client is not the same as what I do with somebody else. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different activity level. And also, even if you're working with me for 6 months inside my program, or for 4 months, or you're working with me one-on-one, you might go through life events that change the way you have to eat. So when Jason and I were working together, he hurt his knee. He was on crutches. He couldn't move. So he had reduced mobility for 6 weeks. We had to adjust. There were different things we had to do to make sure that he fixed his insulin resistance. He kept losing weight. So, even though he had that 6 weeks during the time we worked together, he still reached his goal. So he really needed to learn how to eat the right way and to support his life. He's very, very active. He needed to eat a lot. He needed to learn how to eat properly for him. Okay. So, and he never counted calories once. He's like the happiest man alive now, because like I said, he's a gym guy. He's done every diet. He's done the calorie counting. So he worked with me. He lost the weight. He feels great. And he did not count 1 calorie. We don't really do count. We don't do counting calories. So like I said, these are the 4 things that were keeping your weight stuck. For him, he had great muscle mass, but his hormones were screwed up. His metabolism wasn't working as well as it should, and he had inflammation because he wasn't eating right, and he was putting stress on his body by working out a lot. Okay. So topic number 3, and I'm sure this is the one you're most interested in, is how to eat to lower insulin, reverse insulin resistance, and unlock fat burning. Because when people tell you, or when you see this advertisement or something on the internet, and they're like, unlock fat burning, or take this gummy, or take this, special shake, it's gonna, you're gonna have crazy fat burning from it. It's kind of a bunch of bullshit, excuse my language, because the only way to unlock fat burning is to lower insulin and inevitably reverse insulin resistance. That is the best way to burn fat. That is the way your body's going to burn fat. Okay. Insulin resistance can be reversed. Like I said at the beginning, it usually takes about 6 to 12 weeks. That's if you're not diabetic yet. It can take longer. It can take a lot longer. For example, you've had diabetes for 15 years. And, one of my clients right now, he had uncontrolled diabetes for 15 years. He's 62 now. And, it's taking time. It's been 8 months already. His blood sugars are great. He's off all of his medications for diabetes, but it's still not perfect. But if you don't have diabetes yet, you can definitely reverse insulin resistance in 6 to 12 weeks. The only way to fix insulin resistance, like the absolutely only way, is to learn how to eat right for your body. Okay. Counting calories is not going to cut it. You need to learn how to eat right. That's it. And I say this many times on almost all the trainings. The good news is that you don't have to starve yourself, but you need to eat right, and you need to learn some strategy around how you eat. It's really, really important. Okay, the timing of your food is important. Eating the right foods at the right time, that balances your blood sugar. It starts to reverse insulin resistance. You've heard me say it before, you should really be focusing on 3 meals a day. You need to get what you need in those 3 meals. That is, not only the 3 meals, but what you're getting in those 3 meals will keep your blood sugar balanced. And when you have this nice, balanced, stable blood sugar, the insulin resistance starts to go away. Basically, your cells, if you remember from the beginning, are getting a break. They're getting a break from being bombarded by insulin all the time. And when they get that break, they become insulin sensitive again. Okay, the insulin resistance becomes much less. And you need to do that, and to balance your blood sugar when you're having those meals, you need to combine protein, fat, and fiber. And, you know, fiber is usually the carbohydrate at every meal. So healthy carbs are really, really important. Protein, healthy fat, and fiber. And you don't have to give up all, you know, quote unquote bad carbs like pasta and bread, or sweets. I know some of my clients like to still have sweets. They just use strategy around it. They don't eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but you can still have it. You don't have to eliminate any food to lose weight and to reverse your insulin resistance. Okay. You need to focus on the right nutrition. You need proper meal timing, and you need to balance your blood sugar. And this tells your body to burn fat instead of storing it, and it begins to reverse insulin resistance. And hey, Phil, yeah, and then you get to where you want to go, right? As your body gets into fat burning mode, and you begin reversing insulin resistance, you start not only losing weight. You know, most of my clients are losing between 5 and 10 pounds in the first month, at least a couple pounds a week, but you start feeling better, okay? Because insulin resistance just is not just about belly fat or fat. And I know you guys are very concerned about losing fat, but I'm sure you're also very concerned about your sexual health and how much energy you have, you know, how good you feel about other chronic illnesses. You don't want them. And when you reverse insulin resistance, you lower you lower the chance that you're going to get all that stuff like diabetes and high blood pressure, high triglycerides, all those things. The risk goes down, and also you lose weight and you feel great. Okay, so if you are on a diet, or if you're about to start a diet, if you're about to start it, or you just did start it, like say you decided you're going on keto or you're going on some calorie restricted diet, if you don't feel good, if you feel like you're hungry all the time, if you don't have good energy, if you feel crappy, that means that whatever diet you're on is not taking into account your insulin levels, okay, your insulin resistance. You shouldn't feel like crap when you're losing weight, okay? And like I said about this new client I have, he said, like, I can't believe I even lost weight. I ate so much food. That's the way it should be, you guys. You're men. You need to eat. You need to get enough calories. You need to get the things that you need. And when you do that, you shouldn't be hungry between meals. You know, you shouldn't be constantly reaching for snacks. You should be able to eat enough food so that you feel satisfied, so you're not hungry, and you still should lose weight. And that's what, you know, that's what eating right will do, right? You learn how to eat right so that you can reverse insulin resistance. And that's really the key to losing weight and keeping it off. And not only losing weight and keeping it off, but feeling fantastic, because that's the most important thing. You want energy, you want to feel good. This is another one of my clients, Dave, and it's a bit of a different situation. You know, he's 62. He had a lot of weight to lose when we started working together. He had already lost weight on diets many times, but he always gained it back. He was eating clean, but he wasn't eating enough. Right? He was only having 2 meals a day when we started working together, and he was trying to keep his calories low, and his weight was going absolutely nowhere. And when he really started to lose weight was when we added in a third meal. And Dave's lost almost 100 pounds in the last year and a bit. He's been consistently losing weight and maintaining the weight loss. So he still has to readjust as necessary. It's a long road, but this is another example of how you can be eating less and you can be eating clean, and it's just not working. He was eating clean. He was only having 2 meals a day. He was keeping his calories low. His weight wasn't going anywhere. We needed to add more. So everybody's different. Everybody has got a different story. Everybody has different needs, and you have to understand that you're an individual. So if you go pull some diet off the internet and it's just this cookie cutter plan, it's not going to necessarily work for you. You need to really make sure you find something that's putting your specific health first. So for Dave, these were the 4 things keeping his weight stuck. And these are all of the things: muscle mass, hormones, metabolism, inflammation. He had all of them. So by making the proper food choices, he's dealing with all of those things that were keeping his weight stuck. And, he's happily losing 2 to 3 pounds a week at this point. And it's just consistent. Does he have to put in the effort? Yes. Does he have to be perfect all the time? No. He can go to a barbecue and you know, some of his, I think aunts and his mom love to bake and they bake beautiful pies. He can still have a piece of pie. You can still lose weight and not be perfect. Okay. And that's what I do in my program. I teach you how to make the right food choices so that you can maintain muscle mass and you can fix all of the problems so that you can lose weight. It's also what I do with my private clients. So just understand no amount of exercise, dieting, skipping meals, fasting, or eating healthy food will get rid of your belly fat if you do not know how to fix insulin resistance. So you can be doing everything right, eating all the right things. You can get rid of all the processed food. You can switch all your, you know, all your processed sugar to fruit. You can get all the whole grains. You can do all of the right things. If you're not fixing the insulin resistance, you are going to struggle. And that's probably why some of you guys are struggling. Okay. So if you feel like you're doing everything right and you're still not getting results, it's not really your fault. You just need the right plan that teaches you how to eat right. And you can take the videos that I put on here and you can tweak things. Like you can, you know, I have guys who have watched every video, who have taken notes, who have lost tons of weight. So if you really want to, that's what you can do. If you feel like you need help and you don't want to do the trial and error, you guys know where to find me. You can always message me. If you want to get on a Zoom call, no pressure. There's never any pressure from me to work with me, but I'm happy to sit with you for like a half an hour and just help you understand why you're struggling, or if you have questions about insulin resistance or you're confused, I'm happy to do that. So please book a call or send me a note. Happy to talk about it. And just going to stop the share. I'm just going to ask the people who are watching live. I know there's five or so of you on. Does anybody have any questions, like any burning questions about insulin resistance? I know it's not like the most exciting topic, but it's a really, really important thing for you to understand. So if you have questions, you guys, the ones that are watching live, please put them in the comments and I'll check them now. I think I'm getting them okay. Let me just refresh my screen here. Yeah. Anyway, so that's insulin resistance. And I think the most important thing to understand, and I'll just try to finish up because I know I've been carrying on for 27 minutes at this point. My husband always tells me I should keep it under 20 minutes so I don't bore you guys to death. But with insulin resistance, just understand that everybody's on this spectrum of insulin resistance. So I could have insulin resistance even though I'm lean. Everybody has insulin resistance. You can be 400 pounds. You have insulin resistance and you still don't have diabetes, okay? Because your body just got really good at storing any extra blood sugar as fat. So everybody's body's a little bit different. Everybody needs an individualized plan that they can live with, because the reality is you can start to reverse insulin resistance without doing a massive overhaul of everything you eat. You can make basic changes just by, like that slide that I put up, you know, making sure that your meals are balanced. So having 3 meals a day, making sure those meals have protein, have fiber, have healthy fat. That keeps your blood sugar balanced. That means that instead of it going up like this, it's going to go only up like this. And then eventually you get into fat burning mode. And that's what you want. When you get into fat burning mode, not only are you burning fat, but you're helping to give your cells a chance to become insulin sensitive again. And when you're talking about losing weight, keeping it off, but most importantly, having longevity and having health as you age, reversing your insulin resistance is one of the most important things you can do, because insulin resistance is tied to every shitty chronic illness that you can ever get. Honestly, ED is caused by insulin resistance at a root cause level. Diabetes, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, like everything bad, even cancer. So fixing your insulin resistance is of key importance. That's what I help my clients do. Yes, they lose weight and they're happy because that's why they start working with me. But I'm sort of a bit sneaky because I want people to be healthy. So I'm happy that you guys lose weight, but I'm also really happy because I know that this way of losing weight is going to keep you alive longer, and it's going to keep you healthier as you age. And so for me, that's like the most important thing. I want everybody to be happy and healthy. So yeah, insulin resistance and reversing it is going to do that. So anyway, on that note, I'm gonna go. I'm on full mom duty this week. I'm like working and being full time mom because my youngest is not in camp. So I took him for a 2.5 hour mountain bike ride this morning to try to wear him out, but it also wore me out. And I gotta get him off the computer because I think he's probably watching something as I'm doing this. So I hope everybody has a fantastic Tuesday and a great rest of the week. And like I said, if you have questions or if you want a more detailed explanation about what insulin resistance is and how you can start fixing it, just message me, just book a call with me. I can explain it. I have better slides. I have more in-depth slides if you really want, me to show you that. I'm happy to, but I don't just as a general rule want to bore people for an hour with a whole bunch of science. Yeah, so that's it. I will hopefully talk to some of you soon. Have a great week.